listeners and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier iHypnosis life healer coach and your personal guide. And a special warm welcome, of course, to all of you who are tuning in, watching this live, or maybe you're watching this later as a recording in our curated podcast, the iHypnosis Life Coaching Journeys. Now, for those of you who've been around here many times before, you know that this podcast is a special one because we've been working really hard to find some truly amazing healers and coaches, people who are not only on their personal journey, but they've also realized that they have a mission that's bigger than them. And this year, of course, we set it upon ourselves that we would reach out to people that we may or may not know directly, but when we get to know about them, we not only get curious, but this is the opportunity for you to get to meet some truly amazing healers and coaches. And I have somebody in our midst. In case you haven't already seen her write up, you'll get to hear about her in a few moments. Of course, Priyanka, this is your cue. So you can turn on your camera and a warm welcome to you. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for making this moment to be here on our pod. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for inviting me in this forum. I mean, I'm so excited to be here and share my personal journey as well.
Nice. So full disclosure here, we met just about a week ago, and I know you had one or two questions, and I said, I don't mean to be rude, but I make it a point to ask all the questions about what you do, and get to know you better live, so that I'm literally hearing this for the very first time, and I'm sure that people who are tuned into your energy, into what you do, they will really benefit from this, because a lot of times we don't get to know our the story, or what really motivates people that we are drawn to, whether they are mentors, whether they are people we really hold in high regard. Yeah, whether they're in the role of therapists or healers or coaches, whatever it be, a lot of times we really don't know, like, how did they get here. So maybe before we even start, um, in your words, could you, if somebody said, okay, so Priyanka, what do you do?
Okay, so I'm a clinical psychologist and a psychotherapist, and
Nice.
I specialize in relationships, that is, postmarital,
Mm,
premarital, teenagers, and families, parenting, all of this. And I, of
mm,
course, I do psychotherapy for mental health issues like
mm,
anxiety, depression, phobia, trauma, grief, low self esteem, anger, all kinds of mental health issues, even
mm,
clinical, non clinical. Yeah, I work from Kem's Corner, and I deal with basically right from 9 years to 65 years of
wow,
age group,
wow.
and I have a wide range of people coming with wide problems, like wide range of problems. So yeah, I mean, I deal with practically all kind of issues where
Amazing.
mental and relationships are concerned.
Wow, wow. So I just realized one thing, and like I said, this is the flip side of working from the home studio. I don't know if you can pick up the fan noise. So I'm going to take exactly like 2 seconds while I just quickly switch. I'll be right back. Yeah, thank you for your patience. So here's what we're going to do. Um, you actually spoke a lot about many different topics and subtopics. I'm sure people who are listening to this would want to know more about it, but I believe that it's our past, it's our history that has given us that energy to keep going and doing the amazing work that we're doing today. So, in your words, I'd love for you to share, like, how did you get here? Like, what was that journey like? Some people call it the hero's journey. We get these, opportunities or moments, and we make decisions, and all of that, now when you look back, has brought you here. So, in your words, take us along with you on the journey. Like, how did you get here?
Hmm. So my journey is Very interesting, actually.
Hmm.
The thing is, I was actually a designer earlier.
Wow.
I was a fashion designer, and I was extremely dynamic. I used to I had many dreams of being
Mm.
a big designer in life and having my own boutique, having my own
Mm.
fashion show. I had done
Wow.
my degree in fashion designing that time, and I was extremely social. And
Mm.
in my college days, also, people
Mm.
never even imagined that I would actually become a psychologist. It was just totally all my old friends. Then when they
Mm.
meet up and they think, "Hey, how come you become a psychologist? You're a designer." I mean, it is like a totally different personality
Right.
altogether.
Right.
But my life experiences, as well as I discovered so many things about myself
Mm.
during these
Mm.
experiences, that I meant for this.
Mm.
Because right from the beginning, in my childhood, I was always a person where I used to go out of my way to help people.
Mm.
you know
Mm.
Always empathizing, and always just going out of my way to help people.
Mm.
So people always thought that I'm just a social kind of a person, but I didn't know myself that I'm extremely empathetic.
Mm.
So then in college also, they used to call me like a grandmom, you know. Like they used to say, "Ki, you are much more older than your age. Why
Mm.
you keep lecturing all the time?"
Hmm.
And also they used to always get their problems to me. Like whoever has issues, they used to come to me. And
Mm.
I used to keep giving them lectures, empathizing, giving them
Mm.
time. I never realized that I have this problem. But once one of my friend told me, "Hey, you should be a counselor," and I'm like, "Hey, it's such a boring job.
Mm.
I'm not in for it. It's so
Mm.
cheesy. It's not in fashion and all of that. Nobody even." So that time in my era, I mean, counselors were hardly
Yeah.
even known. And
Mm.
in fact, I never even knew that who's a psychologist also,
Mm.
that time.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, as and when time passed, I got married really early at the age of
Mm.
22, 23.
Mm.
And I got a child very fast, within a year. And then of course the dreams of me being a great designer, and being having my own fashion show, everything went
Mm.
down the drain.
Mm.
And got into the motherhood, got into families. My mother-in-law was an Alzheimer's patient,
Oh.
and taking care of her, and taking
Mm.
care of children, being a housewife because I couldn't work. There were
Mm.
there were a lot of issues, because of which I couldn't work.
Mm.
So I thought that let me try with batch flowers. Now I
Mm.
started with batch flower therapy. Now, this batch flower therapy is a therapy where there are flower essences,
Mm.
and uh, there are wildflowers which are actually found in the deep forests of London,
Mm.
and we make essences out of that. And then these are healing flowers, and we dilute it with water and give it to our clients.
Right.
So it is very nice, it's beautiful. So I thought, let me try that, because
Mm.
I wanted to do something part time, because I had two kids and they were quite kind of small and very tiny. But I
Right.
always had this drive to do something for the society. Like I had that drive to make a difference in people's life. It
Mm.
used to give me a lot of pleasure when I used to help my
Mm.
friends, when
Mm.
I used to lecture them, and when they used to really like it. I used to love it. It
Mm.
used to create some kind of dopamine in my life, in my body. I used to, like,
Nice.
uh, um, I mean, I always, even in the middle of the night, I used to
Yeah.
just do. Even during my exams, I used to leave
Mm.
my paper and I used to help others. It was like that.
Right.
I used to score less and they used to score more because I was busy helping people.
Right.
So but I never repent that because I used to like
Mm.
it.
Mm.
So but I never knew that that would actually help me in my
Mm.
profession. So
Mm.
in bachelor therapy, I started with that. Then slowly, I realized that only batch flowers are not enough, because
Mm.
yes, it helps in reducing the symptoms of depression,
Mm.
anxiety, or whatever, but it definitely doesn't change the belief system of the person, the way they think, the way they
Mm.
act,
Mm.
the way they take decisions in life, the
Mm.
way they perceive, the ways they interpret,
Mm.
how are they going to change all of that? Because
Correct.
that is the core problem, right?
Mm.
So later on I decided to do something more. I
Mm.
thought, let me do life coaching, because I know,
Mm.
while bachelor therapy, of course I have to take the entire case history.
Mm.
But once they feel better, they need to actually do some hands-on
Mm.
physical changes in their life, right?
Right.
I mean, they have to literally do some major changes so that things change. So I used to do a
Mm.
little bit of counseling anyway.
Mm.
So I started doing life coaching to understand more about myself,
Mm.
about the therapy, about
Mm.
how to change their belief system and stuff like that. Then
Mm.
I did life coaching, then I became a life coach. Then
Mm.
I did a lot of workshops, a lot of
Mm.
seminars, a lot of
Mm.
webinars. And then people started actually seeing a lot of difference. They loved the way I speak, they loved the
Mm.
way I help people. And then eventually, um, somebody told me, I think you're a great coach. Why don't you actually do something in masters,
Mm.
Then I'm like, see, I'm already a counselor. I don't know why even need to do it. I'm like, any which ways I'm doing good. Like, people are liking my coaching and all. She's like,
Mm.
no, it will add on to your credibility.
Mm.
Then I learned. Then I did my master's in clinical psychology,
Mm.
and then I did my postgraduate, because my interest kept on increasing.
Yeah.
My the greed for learning kept
Mm.
on increasing. And
Mm.
psychology is such a subject where you keep going inside,
Yeah.
and there is no end to it. it's
True.
it's totally unlimited. Right
Mm.
now also, after learning so much, I still feel I have not learned enough, because I have done at least 30 to 40 courses, like
Mm.
practitioner certifications. I've done
Mm.
my licensed NLP practitioner course. I'm
Mm.
also a practitioner. I'm a sex therapist. I'm a career counselor. I've done so many of them. I've
Mm.
done so many therapies. Before I did my masters, I had did all these therapies. In fact,
Mm.
I did cognitive behavioral therapy before I did my masters, because I
Mm.
knew that exists and it's going to help me in
Right.
my practice anyway.
Mm.
So as I told you, I already became half, most of it. Like, I became a therapist then only, and then I did my
Mm.
master's just for the degree sake. So I did my
Mm.
degree, and then I did my post graduation because I wanted to
Right.
specialize in relationships. So since
Mm.
I was, a mother of two, dealing with patients at home, dealing with
Mm.
so many conflicts at home, my it was a difficult journey where I had to deal with a lot of emotional trauma. There was a time when I was into depression. I also did a lot of spirituality. Then I
Mm.
was followed, because of so much of issues in my family life. I
Mm.
followed spirituality as well, which gave me
Mm.
a lot of knowledge, which gave me a lot of strength and
Mm.
tolerance, and a lot of positive perspective, which helped me to go through that journey a little easily.
Mm.
If I would not have followed spirituality, it would have been impossible for me to sustain there,
Mm.
you know. And yeah, I mean, that really helped me, and I still follow that.
Mm.
It gave me a lot of insights, a lot of
Mm.
truth of life,
Mm.
a
Mm.
lot of direction in life, as to,
Mm.
and a lot of goals of life as well.
Right.
My purpose of life was defined by that spirituality.
Mm.
So it helped me to take this path even more, because now I got a new goal where I'm going to use my skills
Mm.
to give people direction in life. And because they all are lost. I mean, believe me, I've been doing this thing since so many years. People are lost as to what is the
Mm.
purpose of life. They don't know
Mm.
only
Mm.
that they're just living like animals,
Mm.
literally.
Mm.
So there are four things which animals do, that is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending.
Mm.
These things people do, and they don't have any kind of structure in life. They sleep with anyone, they eat anything, they don't have a routine. I mean, you cannot tell a tiger, hey, come on, let's go for breakfast.
Mm.
So it's like that. So
Mm.
uh, so the same thing, the human
Mm.
beings are also actually doing kind of thing,
Mm.
where they're just live with the flow. There is no purpose in life. They just
Mm.
they just do all these four things, and they feel that's bliss, Okay, but there's a
Right.
higher bliss as well, which people don't
Mm.
realize it.
Mm.
So I got a purpose of life with that entire journey when I was following, and when I felt that I'm helping people and people are getting significant results, I started learning more, and
Mm.
I did a specialization in relationships. Then I did my
Mm.
post graduation in couples, family, and marriage counseling.
Mm.
And I specialize in relationships because I know that the source of happiness is relationships.
Mm.
Mean that is according to the research, it is proven where there is not so good relationships.
Mm.
People are not happy even if they are billionaires.
Mm.
You know,
True.
even if they have a lot of money, but when they have not good relationships, they are always
Mm.
suffering. You know,
Mm.
this is in the
True.
material plane,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
but otherwise in the spiritual plane, the
Mm.
happiness is something else.
Mm.
But otherwise in this world, having good relationships is very important.
Mm.
Plus there are people who don't have any relationships, they are all
Right.
alone. That is also
Right.
a problem, you
Mm.
know.
Mm.
So what I have also understood about relationships and about people and soul and everything, where the nature of the soul is to love people and to get loved by people,
Mm.
you know.
Mm.
And if you're alone and you
Right.
have nobody to love and
Mm.
you have nobody to share your love with
Mm.
anyone, you
Mm.
feel lonely. I mean,
Right.
you'll actually find them very abnormal also. I mean,
Mm.
have you seen people only loving themselves and not loving others and not doing anything for it? I mean, you will not you will feel, hey, there is something wrong with that person
Mm.
because he's not sharing anything,
Right.
you know. So yeah, I mean, the nature of the soul is to exchange love, and that
Mm.
gives you bliss. And how do
Mm.
you do that? The
Right.
people have lost that formula itself, how to
Mm.
actually love people. They don't know
Nice.
that formula of love, you know.
Mm.
So that's where I thought that I want to teach them. And
Mm.
people think that just by having so many relationships, hey, that you love. No, it's not like that.
Mm.
So that's why I did specialization in relationships,
Mm.
and uh, and then my journey began as a clinical psychologist and a
Mm.
psychotherapist. And
Mm.
I also do sex therapy,
Mm.
where there are people suffering related to this part of life as well,
Mm.
because of which they again can't exchange love, and there are issues in
Mm.
the marriages,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, this is a biggest problem. So this is how my journey was,
Mm.
where I became a psychologist
Right.
by slowly realizing,
Mm.
experiencing. My academic journey is hardly say 20%, but my
Mm.
80% is my experience, which I
Right.
use it in my therapy, you know,
Mm.
which brings great success, as well as more understanding about where they are coming from,
Mm.
and also diagnosing the root cause of the problem. The core
Mm.
issues of the
Mm.
relationship or the mental health is also coming from my experience more than the
Mm.
academics,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, I mean, because what we see is not is necessarily be truth,
Mm.
because there
True.
are so many underlying issues, there is
Correct.
so much background to it, there's
Mm.
so much of childhood and experiences of the past and the
Mm.
experiences of so many people,
Yeah.
which amalgamates related to the knowledge
Mm.
of having the core issues at the present
Right.
in the person's life, you know. So
Mm.
that's why
Mm.
in the person's life, it's not necessary whatever they are going through right now and whatever the beliefs they have right
Mm.
now
Mm.
is related to the present issue. No,
Right.
there's a big history to it, there's an
Mm.
entire cultural background to it, the entire generation to it, you know, the entire society pressure to it, you know,
Yeah.
where we need to understand where what is the age group, as well as
Mm.
where what is the background behind that entire
Mm.
experience the
Correct.
person is going through.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, this is my journey.
That's beautiful. So, couple of questions because, as I said, the purpose of being able to track someone's coaching journey or healing journey, as one would look at it, is that one is we talk this podcast has been created primarily keeping in mind people like us, right? People who have, especially, since there was this unifying event that happened 5 years ago, and a lot of people were woken up, a lot of people changed the trajectory of their life, and maybe they had dreams many years ago, but when life took over for maybe a decade or two, um, obviously I'm talking about 2020, and there was this sort of awakening or reawakening that happened for a lot of people, and people have kind of started to make changes in their lives, right? They've started to make different decisions, and they've started to reskill themselves, they started to teach themselves, obviously also reaching out to mentors. So the purpose of me, asking these questions also is so that people are able to see, that they look at you today as, like a picture of success, that wow, you're doing all these things, you have all of these, accolades that obviously prove that you've been able to find your purpose, you've been able to really connect to something deeper and something much bigger than you. But a lot of times people forget that there was a journey that led here. So one of the things that struck me when I was listening to you was you talked about spirituality. Um, Again, because it's understood differently by different people. Could you share your perspective? Like when you say that you even maybe I'm kind of like mixing up the words, but basically it's like, you found spirituality or you connected with spirituality, and that has played a big, from what it sounds like, it has played an important role in your journey. Walk us through how that happened. Like, what was it? Was it a, like, I won't even put words in your mouth. Like, how did you come across spirituality, and how did that kind of start to shape your perspective and you as a person?
Hmm. Um, Honestly, generally people uh, get into spirituality
Mm,
for a few reasons.
mm,
One is distress.
mm,
When people are in distress,
mm,
they get into spirituality.
correct.
And one is the person who's very inquisitive,
Mm,
okay, where they want to know so many things and all of that.
right. Yeah.
um I'm always an inquisitive person,
Mm,
and I'm like a question mark,
mm,
like extremely logical,
mm,
extremely practical person.
mm.
And like there is this movie called what is that? Where this guy has a question mark in his head.
The Riddler.
No, that
Oh, okay.
Hindi movie.
Okay. Mm,
Whatever. The thing is, I'm
mm,
I'm similar to that. Like I always have a question mark
mm,
here. So when I was going through distress,
mm,
I approached spirituality. I did not approach, but
mm.
it's just that my friend introduced me to this.
Ah.
So basically, I follow ISKCON. Okay,
Mm,
and over there, I used to just go and just for the sake of it. I mean, I was
mm,
not really interested. I was
mm,
not so spiritual ever in my life.
mm,
I was like very very logical. I never used to believe in fasting. I never used to believe in, you know, uh, all of this, like what is this, so much of philosophy and why a person has to do
mm,
something what they're doing, and it's all like I used to find it very superficial.
mm,
So when I went to this temple, and my
mm,
friend used to take me just for darshan, just like
mm,
that, you go
mm.
and have and come back. That's it. You just have a
Wow.
little bit of food and come back. But so there were some lectures going on, you
Mm,
know, and I really connected with my daily life,
wow.
you know,
Mm,
and day to day life. See, the thing is when you are spiritual and there's no logic behind it, you will not be able to sustain for a longer period,
mm,
you know. And
mm,
when there is just blind faith, it is temporary.
mm,
So it is very important to know the reason behind whatever you're doing.
mm,
You should never have blind faith in anything.
mm,
So whenever I used to go and I said I want to know what it is all about, like I
mm,
was very inquisitive. And one or two lectures I understood, hey, this is something which is really, really practical. I want to know more
mm,
about life, about
mm.
karmas, about, what is this, like good, bad, and everything.
Right.
Like, what is this fasting? I don't believe in fasting. I used
Mm,
to say, what is this? So I used to go and ask them at least 20, 25 questions each time.
mm,
And
mm,
the lady over there, she was so kind to answer each and
Mm,
everything without judgment,
mm,
without any, making me feel very uncomfortable. And you were asking stupid questions. What is this? And
mm,
I used to ask stupid questions also because
mm,
I wanted to know everything.
mm,
So I was like, yeah, I mean, this really makes sense. And slowly, I started following the process, and I saw the transformation in
mm.
myself, in my thinking styles itself,
Nice.
automatically. Like,
Mm,
I could see the goodness. I
mm,
mean, I could see that I've become more kinder,
mm,
more softer. I could
mm,
see more. I became more compassionate. I became more empathetic.
mm,
I became more, you can
mm,
say, more sweeter in my approach with people, and more helpful.
mm,
So that transformation automatically came in me, you
mm,
know and I felt that whatever I'm doing right now, being
mm,
very generally, I'm more compassionate, and I do a lot of social cause
mm,
because I feel that somewhere I feel it's my
mm,
duty to do all of these things, because I feel responsible, because I have so much of knowledge and ability. Why
mm.
shouldn't I help people with this?
Correct.
you know
Correct. Correct.
so I feel responsible, because the thing is, where I got these abilities, I got
Yeah.
it because of the spirituality also, to a certain extent.
Mm. Yeah.
Because
True.
it made me feel that it is our duty to contribute to our society,
Beautiful.
who's
Mm.
giving us so much,
Mm.
in return. It's not like the society is not giving us. We
Mm.
feel they're not giving us, but then society does give us a lot of knowledge, a lot of
Mm.
insight. They teach us a lesson. They what do you call, make us go through so much of hardships also, and
Mm.
from there we learn so much, you
Correct.
know
Mm.
and then we become human beings. Otherwise we are
Yeah.
just animals, as I told you.
Mm.
you know how
Mm.
would we use our intelligence? The difference between animals and humans are that we have extra intelligence
Mm.
to understand the logic between
Mm.
right and wrong,
Mm.
and the
Yeah.
following the right path. And being human is something different than being animals. There's
Mm.
a huge
True.
difference. and
True.
and as I told you, people are actually following animalistic life. So yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I think this spiritual life has actually made me human, you know where I used to feel that even I would think, like, nowadays things are so different. I would have also thought that way. Everybody's selfish, they want to follow their own journey, but I want
Right.
to make a life in people, a change in people's life.
Mm.
And I feel this spirituality has given
Mm.
me a purpose where
Right.
once I am to that level where I
Mm.
can change the belief system of the person,
Mm. Mm.
I can rewire their thinking
Mm.
styles. I
Mm.
can, if I have the ability to change their entire mindset towards
Mm.
humanity,
Mm.
I can get them to spirituality also, where they can get a higher purpose. And it's
Mm.
not necessary that they have to connect to spirituality only what I'm doing.
Right.
It could be anything, whatever they like.
Mm.
But people are becoming atheist also, to a certain extent.
Mm. Mm.
And that's nothing wrong. It's nothing
Mm.
wrong to be atheist.
Mm.
But the thing is, it's about being human again, where
Mm.
you need to be a little more kinder, more compassionate,
Mm.
more in the mode of goodness,
Mm.
more sweeter.
Mm.
That thing is missing.
Mm. Right.
That being kinder is missing. Being
Mm.
more merciful, being
Mm.
more compassionate is missing from
Right.
humans.
Mm.
So here is what I want to do, and the spirituality has given me that purpose where I want to
Nice.
make this, they give a new insights to people,
Mm.
with my knowledge, with my
Mm.
experience, with my
Mm.
talent. I'm not saying that I'm talented. I'm not. I'm not saying that I'm so knowledgeable. No, but how much ever I've got,
Mm.
I think I can do little bit change at least.
Correct.
You
Correct.
know,
Mm.
something I can change in them,
Mm.
where they can start thinking differently towards
Mm.
life. You
Mm.
know, the purpose of life should change.
Mm.
They should ask
Yeah.
a lot of whys. They
Right.
should ask, why am I here? Why am I
Mm.
doing this?
Mm.
There was one guy who came to me.
Mm.
It's very amazing. I mean, I was
Mm.
so impressed that he came to. I was so happy actually he came to me. He was a teenager. He was just
Mm.
17, 18. But literally he was in depression. You know why?
Mm.
his father came to me. He's like, yeah, he wants to die, and he's saying, I don't want to live, and what is the purpose of life, and this is no use.
Mm,
Guess what? He was a
mm.
topper of the school,
Wow.
and he wanted to be a doctor.
Mm,
He was appearing for NEET,
mm,
and he was amazingly intelligent,
mm.
like he was a, like, a bookworm.
Mm.
And he was very clear that he wants to become a doctor, and he was not at all distracted, but he was in
Right.
depression.
Mm.
That he was saying, why should I be a doctor? Tell me,
Mm.
why should I be a doctor? And I know I'm going to die anyway. Everybody dies.
Oh, wow.
What is the use of me being a doctor if I have to die?
Wow.
And I can't see any purpose of life. I don't
Mm.
want to live.
Mm.
And so he was from a Jain family, and I,
Mm.
of course, I follow something else, right? But most of the theories, the philosophies of spirituality is quite common.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
it's quite similar. It's little
Mm.
different, but it's quite similar. The
Mm.
philosophy is similar.
Sure.
So I gave him the gyan, the knowledge of
Mm.
whatever I knew about spirituality.
Mm.
Like he's like, then okay, fine. You die. Then
Mm.
I'm like, okay, you die. Then that entire cycle of birth and death I explained, all of that.
Mm.
Maybe many people may not understand now, but
Mm.
he understood because he was in the same. He could understand. He was already studying all of that from the, but he
Right.
did not know what to do. So even
Mm.
he had that knowledge, he could not understand what to do. So I
Mm.
explained a lot of philosophy, and it took only 2 sessions for me to do that.
Nice.
But he got so much of insights. I mean, his depression went away within 1 session, and I
Amazing.
was so happy. I mean,
Mm.
and I want people to ask me these questions. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
I want them to ask, "Hey, why should I be a doctor? Why should I be an
Correct.
engineer?
Correct.
What is the purpose of life? Why
Mm.
do I why do I have to live? What
Mm.
is the higher purpose?"
Mm.
And
Mm.
honestly, there are so many intelligent people in our life, in
Mm.
our society,
Mm.
that they can make big differences in people's
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
because intelligence is like, like कूट कूट के भरा हुआ है, like in
बिल्कुल.
in in
Yeah. Yeah.
they're like a lot, like they're like filled with intelligence,
Mm.
but people are using in the wrong direction.
Mm.
They are
True.
using it in the direction of how to get more money only,
Mm.
and that too in a wrong way, you know where they
Right.
can use the same intelligence in the right way and make a lot of other things also in people's life, where they
Mm.
can contribute in the people's
Mm.
society, in the
Mm.
society in different ways, but they don't
Right.
do that
Mm.
because they are clouded with a lot of materialistic people things in
Mm.
life, where they think that the source of happiness is what. The source of
Mm.
happiness is money,
Right.
girls and boys, and
Mm.
sex, and
Mm.
that's it.
Mm.
And that's all about it. That's what they think. Okay, fine.
Mm.
Now I got a client that day, and she had a problem in her married life, and she
Mm.
said, see, now I am very clear about it, that my emotional support my friends are giving, my kid is taken care of by my husband. He's a
Mm.
little away, but it's okay. Financial support I have because I'm also earning and my husband is also
Mm.
earning. And my sexual life is taken care of by something else outside.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. Now all the needs are separated and
Mm.
fulfilled by other people,
Correct.
separate sources of, you know. So why
Mm.
should I even get married again? I'm okay. I'm
Mm.
okay being separated from my husband in the same house where
Mm.
all my needs are getting fulfilled.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, what about the higher purpose? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, the thing
Mm.
is, higher purpose, there are, when you want to reach a higher plane of life,
Yeah.
the bliss which the person realizes is
Mm.
totally different. So that is why I told you that people are just living animalistic life where there is no purpose in life. They're just going with the flow,
Mm.
and they feel all the needs are supposed to be fulfilled, whether it is
Mm.
from anywhere. Doesn't
Correct.
matter,
Mm.
you know, and they feel
Mm.
it's okay. But
Mm.
once they realize there is something more to do in life, they will understand that this bliss, what they are experiencing, is something which is hardly 10-20%.
Mm.
And there's much more 80% to
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing. So you, what I love about these podcasts is that every guest brings something that's very unique to them. if someone was to read your bio, there would be the conventional questions, what kind of therapies and so on and so forth. We'll obviously, within the time frame, I'm sure we'll get to that. But what I love about just the way that you've tapped into your story and you've talked about, and obviously your experiences with spirituality really were deep, right? Because they have sort of reshaped you and how you look at the world and how you're intending to, make a difference in the world, right? Something else that you said right now struck me very, very deeply, which is, when even today, when we talk about purpose, um, that's something that it's like when you know, right? So I'd love for you to share, you know, what was that moment, or when was that moment that you experienced when you realized that, oh, this is my purpose, this is what I'm meant to do. What was that moment like for you when you had that sort of like a awakening or a reawakening?
Hmm. See, now there was a time
Mm,
when I was very distressed, as I told you, and that is the time, of course, I got realization of my purpose of life,
mm,
and it reshaped my entire actions.
mm,
You know,
mm, mm,
the time was when my kids were little, actually, and I had experienced bliss once.
mm,
So when we do some meditation and all that,
mm,
you know, we have certain experiences,
mm,
and when we really feel that,
mm,
hey, this is truth, man. I mean,
mm,
it's not just an imagination or just a made up story or just a
mm,
feel good factor. It's not that. It's
mm.
reality, you
Sure.
know.
Mm,
And when I experienced that thing, I was into tears,
mm,
and I didn't want to get back to reality, like the real life. I was like, hey, I want to be there only. And to be there, it's not easy.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So when those experiences came, I came to
Mm,
know this experience is bliss, and I want everybody to experience that.
right.
And I wanted that. I wanted to give that knowledge to everyone.
Mm,
I wanted everybody to come where I'm there.
mm,
So that's where I chose to take this
mm,
purpose of life. See, the thing is, that time I had not chosen that that's my
mm.
purpose.
Correct.
But when you experience that bliss,
Mm,
being in that, uh, being in that moment of
yeah, yeah,
experiencing the bliss, then you
yeah.
realize that this is something so beautiful. I want my kids to follow that. I want my
Mm,
my entire family to follow it. I want the world to follow it. But believe me, it's not easy.
yeah,
It's not easy
yeah.
to where people actually come and start believing all of these things. It's
Mm.
difficult because to rewire their belief system,
Yes, yes.
and to rewire the beliefs of the society,
Mm,
because the societal beliefs are much more stronger, because it's
mm.
coming from
Correct,
culture to culture to
correct.
culture, like from generation
True,
after generation and
true.
generation.
Yeah.
So this entire world is functioning with a set of belief system, and it's a
Mm,
rat race where
mm,
everybody goes and follows the same thing. And
mm,
if you don't follow, you are outcasted you know
mm,
so and they have the fear of being outcasted.
mm.
So that is why people don't. So I had a purpose where I don't want them to feel outcasted. In fact, they
Mm.
should feel this is normal
Right,
you know
right.
Hence, that's became my purpose of life. But
Mm,
to achieve that purpose, you have
mm.
to remove the weeds from your path,
Right,
you know
right.
because those weeds are those external pains which you get, right?
Mm,
I mean, if you are troubled, if you are
mm,
distressed all the
mm,
time and you have
mm,
so many issues, it's
mm.
hard for you to concentrate on the purpose
True,
of your life
true,
you know
true.
so you have to work on your practical problems also in
Mm,
life,
mm,
along with the purpose.
mm,
So yeah, there was another purpose which I wanted my kids to be into
mm,
the spirituality and get
mm,
rid of this material things and come to
mm,
a spiritual plane as well. This is my
mm,
another purpose of life. a goal of life. But as I told you, it's not easy because again,
Yeah.
there are so many weeds and
Mm.
toxicity in the
Mm.
life where you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And that plane, when you get into that journey,
Mm.
okay, where you want to transform people's life in a different way, it goes
Mm.
upwards. I mean,
Mm.
that mountain, when you climb up the
Yeah.
mountain,
Yeah.
and when you go up and up and up, the
Yeah.
gravitational pull is there where that it's keep pulling you down,
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's always going towards the opposite direction, so you have
Mm.
to climb up that ladder in the opposite direction. Always there's something which is pulling you down,
Down. Right.
and you have to fight with those pulls,
Mm.
that
Mm.
materialistic or whatever, those
Mm.
weeds and the toxicity, they keep
Sure.
on pulling you down all the time,
Mm.
and you have to fight all of that and keep going up and up and up, and it's not easy.
Right.
So that's
Mm.
difficult, but
Mm.
it's definitely not impossible if you have the
Mm.
determination.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah.
Another very important thing you just said, and especially like today you hear it in media, people talk about, earlier it used to be your passion, like say 10, 20 years ago, that was the story. Find your passion, live your passion. Like that was almost like a movement. Now I'm noticing that the language has changed and it's more about purpose. And there's nothing wrong with any of that, right? It's all in the larger scheme of things. It's exactly how we evolve as a civilization, right? But you said something very important, that when you are on that ascent and like things are pulling you back, like whether you like use the word gravity, like gravity is pulling you back. Uh, in your experience, what or who were these forces that helped you keep going higher and higher? What were some of those? Could be people, could be moments of serendipity where just something happened and it just gave you that energy again to keep going, until of course you were able to get to a place where it's almost like what they call the clearing, right? In mountains also you have the clearing where suddenly it becomes flat even though you're on a mountain, and you have that time to be able to look down and go, wow, I've actually come this far, right? So what were some of those experiences that you've had? And I ask these questions because a lot of times people do not want to make the journey because heart of hearts they know it's going to be hard and they're going to get pulled down, so they don't want to start because they don't want to fail. But you're obviously testament to the fact that you can succeed even when you feel like gravity is pulling you back, right? Because I'm sure you had a lot of things that came in your life that kept you moving higher and higher and higher up.
So there are a few things. It's a
Mm.
very, very good question, actually. Uh, because there was a time where I was losing faith, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, there was a time where I'm like, I'm done. I mean,
Mm.
I can't. I mean, in spite of doing so much, I'm
Yes.
just getting that distress. The problems are not ending.
Yes.
And I was so shattered one time.
Mm.
But there was this time where I did tarot card,
Mm.
and uh, this tarot card actually came up,
Mm.
and they said, hey, listen, you're going through a lot,
Mm.
but there is something higher,
Mm. Mm.
higher being,
Mm.
something like maybe spiritual,
Right.
or something is there, a higher force which is keeping you this way
Mm.
and not letting you go down.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
And slowly my faith was coming down also, and I was
Mm.
almost going to leave my spirituality. I was
Wow.
feeling, I'm like, I'm so fed up with my life, thought. But then this tarot card showed
Mm.
me ki, hey,
Wow.
listen, don't hang on, hang
Wow.
on. I mean, there
Amazing.
is someone is helping you out,
Mm.
you know
Mm.
so what I understood also, that even whether I followed spirituality or not, what I'm going through, I'm going to go through anyway. But my spirituality is going to help me to sustain
Right.
this, and
Mm.
increase the tolerance and patience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is, the experience which I told you, which I had, and
Mm.
the spiritual experiences which I had quite a few, when I was deeply involved, I got really nice experience. So that really gave me a lot of faith in
mm,
the process.
mm,
So that faith, because of the experiences which we got, in the scriptures actually it is written also, one
mm,
of the quotes, where
mm,
whenever the person experiences these things,
mm,
in
mm,
life,
mm.
that is the time when they have a lot of faith.
Right.
Even when you are in the worst phase of life, then
Mm,
also the person
mm.
remembers those things, and
Yes.
hey, then it reminds you, hey, that's reality, don't
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah.
you know
That's
you
right.
don't forget, that is reality, and you are, on the right path. You
Mm.
just, and somewhere or the other, God really tests your patience
Yeah.
when you are following this.
Yeah. Yeah.
He really trusts you, and then and I feel and I think he's tested me a bit too much, but then he will only test you how much ever you can take it.
And
Always,
that's also
he will
because
not
you're
break you
meant
in.
for so much more.
Maybe, yeah. I
I'm
mean, I
telling you.
felt that. I felt that little late, that I think he
Yeah.
has certain plans in my life, because of which
Mm.
he's actually shaping me this
That's
way.
it. That's it.
He's making me
Yeah.
purposely experience all of these things,
Yes.
so that I come to this plane, and so that I can help people. I think that's what
Yes.
I have always
Yes.
felt, that
Yeah.
he has certain things, certain plans
Yeah.
in my life, which I
Yeah.
want to,
Yeah.
fulfill for him.
Mm.
So he's shaping me all of
Yeah.
these things, I felt,
That's right.
because as I told you, when I did the tarot,
Mm.
and so many times I have got some certain dreams and all of that, I'm like, okay, fine, I think I'm just getting some signals all the
Mm.
time, and I should just hang on there. And as and when things got unfolded in my life,
Mm.
as and when I grew, I could actually come to know that, yeah, I mean, he really has some purpose. He has some purpose
That's
for
right.
me, and I'm
Mm.
not the one who's doing things, and you know, it's just happening to me automatically.
That's right.
you know.
That's so true.
So yeah, what was your question? I
Amazing.
think
You
I just
answered
got
it.
lost.
This is exactly, this is beautiful. I'm
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So there are few things.
Mhm.
Sorry. So there's determination.
Go
There
ahead.
is faith.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is faith in the
Yeah.
process.
Mm.
There is determination,
Mm.
where even if you don't feel like doing, this spirituality is like a medicine actually.
Mm.
Sometimes you just don't feel like doing it,
Yeah.
and but you should do it like a medicine, because you know it's going to work
Yeah.
for sure. Again,
Yeah.
that faith comes into the picture,
Yeah.
because I've experienced, whenever I do it by force also,
Mm.
still it helps.
Mm.
I've seen things changing in my life.
Mm.
So again, faith,
Mm.
determination,
Mm.
and going against the gravitational force, you know
Amazing.
having a lot of oaths.
Mm.
I mean, oath means you need to actually take
Yeah.
some promises and oaths, that
Mm.
hey, listen, even
No
if,
matter what.
suppose, no matter what, even if, suppose, you are, maybe breaking down or whatever, at least few principles you're not going to break in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to actually make those principles by
Mm.
yourself
Mm.
at one time when you have the highest faith in
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
so that once that time comes when you fall down, that principles
Mm.
are those ones who actually, like pillars, who don't let you
Yeah.
fall down totally. They bring you
Beautiful.
back
Mm.
you know
Mm.
so that's what really has helped me. Those principles
Mm.
has helped me to hang on there,
Yeah.
and not let me fully break down, so that I don't
Mm.
come back.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I must say, you've been extremely generous with your life story and, tapping into the energy of these stories. Um, at some level, it's like details are secondary. It's the energy which is really what this is about. And I know for people who have, not only like listened, but who are literally following along with your journey at this point, there's a lot that they've picked up on, especially if there are people like us who are already not just focusing on the healing part, which is where we all start, but it's where they've gone beyond, where they realize that they have a purpose, they have a mission, and they are meant to do something more. So, thank you for sharing so much of that. And now I'll ask you a couple of questions more on the lines of, when people say, okay, they've possibly read your bio by now. Maybe they know you from before and they're like, oh, yeah, I want to know what does Priyanka actually do? uh, especially today, because we've got a sense of who you are and what really has shaped you into the person that you are. Um, Maybe, if you could, to start us off, like give us a sense of like who are the primary people, like you said, between, I think you said between 9 and 65, um, age group between 9 and 65, but or 7 and 65, if I'm getting my numbers mixed up.
It's
But
fine.
what's important is that, if you were to say like your primary, uh, people that you work with, like who are they? And then maybe we can spend a little bit of time so people who are looking, or people are like, oh yeah, I know somebody who will benefit from what you do. So if you could share a
Hmm.
little bit about, who would be like the main kind of folks that you work with.
So I work with a lot of couples,
Mm,
marriages,
mm,
families, and all.
mm,
I do a lot of couple counseling. I
mm,
deal with uh, marriages which has a lot of conflicts, which
mm,
has a lot of abuse,
mm,
emotional abuse,
mm,
traumas,
mm,
a lot of physical abuse, sexual abuse,
mm,
or even divorce, separation,
mm,
infidelities,
mm,
and a lot of sexual dysfunction in the marriages or outside the
mm,
marriage, doesn't matter.
mm,
And I deal with a lot of family issues, people who are dealing with a lot of family problems,
mm,
relationships,
mm,
where there's sas bahu issues,
mm,
or there is a lot of internal business issues, brothers
mm,
and sisters, and all
mm.
of them are
Right.
having a lot of families, like kids. And even, of course, I deal with kids, but not very tiny kids, 9 and above,
Mm, mm,
because I do talk therapies.
mm.
I do therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical
Right.
behavioral therapy,
Mm,
NLP. Then I do acceptance and commitment therapy. I do emotional focus therapy, all of
mm,
that. So there are so many
mm,
therapies which I combine. I do couple therapy, I do family
mm,
therapy.
mm,
So I deal with, I combine all these therapies,
mm,
and I do for the people
mm.
who are dealing with a lot of relationship issues. Even teenagers I work with, where
Right.
teenagers are
Mm,
going through a lot of issues themselves.
mm,
I mean, there's a new culture which is developed.
mm,
There's a lot of cultural difference right now, what we have gone through.
mm,
In our
mm.
ages, there was only one type of relationship,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
nowadays there are like at least 20 different types of relationships.
Mm,
So like, I have understood how generally teenagers deal with their
mm,
issues, relationship issues, sexual
mm,
issues, as well as mental health issues, is totally different than what we do,
mm,
and
mm,
we adults do, as well as
mm.
our we used to do, like our
Right.
in my teenage. So
Mm.
yeah, I deal
So
with
just to
teenagers.
pause you here, since you're talking
Yeah,
about teenagers, could you
yeah.
share, especially at the time of this recording, if you were to say, okay, yeah, with teenagers, these are typically the kind of problems that you notice almost as a trend. Of course, there will always be aberrations, but in general, when you say, okay, like by and large, these are the kind of problems that you've come across that teenagers have, and of course, therefore, how do you, what is your special way of treating or managing, like how do you do that?
So, how I manage is basically that nowadays teenagers come to me with very different problems. You
Mm,
know, more often they come for sexual issues. Okay,
mm,
now relationship issues very common when they have
mm,
lot of breakups, a lot
mm,
of rebound relationships, getting into intimacy very early in life,
mm,
and new ways of resolving them, having a
mm,
lot of friends with benefits, having a lot of casual dating, so
mm,
many actually develop STDs as well because of that.
mm,
So these are the issues which I'm getting very commonly.
mm,
And
mm,
I also give a lot of talks, right? I
mm.
mean, in colleges and schools and all.
Right.
So
Right.
I was also a school counselor earlier. So
Mm,
over there, they get into relationship very early, like
mm,
in seventh, eighth standard only.
mm,
And people who are younger, like fifth, sixth standard, okay,
mm,
these people, they don't know anything about relationships, but they just pretend to be like,
mm,
because they're so influenced by their teenagers. Then they start having a lot of what do you call that, shipping. they call it as shipping. I mean,
Mm.
they start uh, you know uh, making two people pairing. I mean, pairing, you can say.
Okay.
So this is a new word, shipping, which I've come to know in
I
the
mean,
school only
the
myself.
first time I'm hearing it. Huh?
Yeah, so there's so many new terms
Right.
actually, which even I
Right.
have learned after I became a school
Right.
counselor, where these kids are using like shipping and this and that, where they pair girl and a boy. And so
Okay.
these things are very, they get into relationships very early, and they have a lot of
Mm.
exposure in through the internet.
Mm.
So they
Mm.
get into porn addiction a lot, they get into sex addiction a lot,
Mm.
and they get into masturbation addiction a lot. So they get into so many
Mm.
new addiction phases because of the early exposure
Mm.
related to porn and all of these things
Right.
early in life.
Mm.
And then they get very inquisitive, they get
Mm.
very curious, and
Mm.
then they try to do a lot of search in the
Mm.
internet, and they come across so many things, and then they get. So these are the ways where people get into addiction, because see, the kids are kids, like they
Mm.
think everything black and white, right?
Mm.
So they don't have that maturity to understand, hey, this
Mm.
is not your age. So they are inquisitive, they do it, they like it, and they continue doing it. Simple
Mm.
as that. And that
Mm.
becomes a coping mechanism in their life. And
Mm.
whenever they are distressed, they do it. Simple.
Mm.
So this becomes very common. So these are
Mm.
the issues which teenagers and kids are, which I come across. Then of course the
Mm.
mental health. Now the thing is,
Mm.
there are few things like in the another society where mental health is concerned. Now they're extremely too much careful about mental health. They say, oh my god, I'm into depression, even if they're not.
Mm.
If they get
Mm.
little, oh, I've got anxiety issues. So so they have made this mental health as a little, like a term
Mm.
which is used very commonly.
Right.
Or many people don't even realize they're going through one. And
Yeah.
it is because of the upbringing, of course, the
Mm.
background which they're coming from.
Mm. Mm.
So I deal with these issues where they have a lot of anxiety
Mm.
related to the competitive surroundings, related to
Mm.
studies
Mm.
and achieving something good in
Right.
life.
Mm.
It's very, the competition is too much, and
Mm.
everybody just wants to show off how good they are.
Mm.
And don't work on the core issues, they just work on the superficial things every
Mm.
time. So
Mm.
here I do a lot of talks on that as
Mm.
well, for the
Mm.
teenagers,
Right.
where which they need to actually focus on what they need to focus on. They're leaving that aside and just focusing on just doing the other things.
Mm.
And also people are kind of lost in career
Mm.
as well.
Mm.
Again, there's a lot of rat race happening, a lot of peer pressure happening.
Mm.
They think only being a doctor and an engineer is
Mm.
the only way out where they can become big and famous and get a lot of money. But believe me, that is not true. So yeah, I mean, teenagers are going through a lot of career
Mm.
issues where they don't know the right potential.
Mm.
So yeah, I actually had a TED talk. I mean, and
Mm.
I've done a TEDx speech on how to find their true potential in life.
Mm.
So
Mm.
there also it makes like people are lost in understanding their true potential, and
Mm.
they just go with the flow types.
Right.
So yeah, I deal with all these kind of issues in
Got it.
teens.
Mm. So the other kind of folks you talked about were typically couples, uh, different, let's say connections that they have. The more sort of legal, formal, what has been there for decades before, and then let's say things that are happening nowadays, right? So if you were to say, like typically when you talk about couples today, let's say in their somewhere between their 30s and their 50s, what would you say are some of the things that you've noticed, that are different? And of course, in in noticing them, I'm sure you've developed mechanisms, ways to be able to help these people who are in the relationships or in these relationships, especially people in their 30s to 50s. So what are some of those, maybe the problems that you've noticed in these marriages? And then of course,
Hmm.
how do you help them deal with it, cope with
Yeah.
it?
See, now the thing is, in between 30s and 50s, there's a lot of changes in the
Mm,
mindset which has happened.
mm,
You know,
mm,
then our parents' generation, there's a lot of difference in the mindset.
mm,
when they were in their 20s, they used to think differently, and when they have come to 30s, they have started thinking differently about
Right.
relationships.
Mm.
They have become more liberal.
Mm.
Okay, they have become much more acceptance is there,
Mm.
that it is okay if
Mm.
the relationship is not working.
Mm.
There have been a lot of divorces happening in
Mm.
the relationships
Mm.
after 15 years of marriage, 20
Mm.
years of marriage,
Mm.
30 years of marriage.
Mm.
In fact, in my society, I have come across where they are in their late 60s and 70s,
Mm.
where they got divorced. Okay,
Wow.
so now they have understood that it is
Mm.
not necessary that they have to tolerate each other for the rest of their lives.
Right.
This shift has come, and also the shift has come that it is okay to divorce, and divorce has no more become a stigma, or a,
Mm.
or a label.
Mm.
So in nearly in every family, it's become very common to have divorces.
Mm.
So, and another common thing which has happened is that to fulfill their desires, they
Mm.
have started looking out for, different sources.
Mm.
you know like for
Mm.
sexual, if they're just sexually deprived, what to do? Hey,
Mm.
there are so many friends with benefits happening, fine,
Correct.
just go ahead with it. you
Mm.
know
Mm.
so and then, so even if you suppose you want an emotional support, you can get it from
Mm.
anywhere.
Mm.
So that has become very a shift where they have started, they are okay to live alone.
Mm.
They are okay to not marry and just live in.
Mm.
Live in has become very common.
Mm.
Then they have also started focusing on the higher purpose also, to a certain extent,
Mm. Mm.
where they don't give so much of importance in marriages now.
Mm.
And they feel ki, like, even if you're alone,
Mm.
it's okay. I
Mm.
mean, you get satisfied anyway, so why do you
Mm.
want to take the burden of just getting
Mm.
married, and having kids? So kids
Mm.
have become burdens as well,
Mm.
you know
Mm.
where they don't want to have any kids anymore. They're happy. There are many couples who are married but they don't want to have kids. It's fine.
Mm.
you know
Mm.
that is also a shift, right? And people have accepted that.
Mm.
Why it's necessary to have kids? I mean, why do you have to have kids? Why
Mm.
can't you just enjoy? So yeah, they have this formula where you
Mm.
earn double,
Mm.
enjoy double, and no kids.
Mm.
you know
Mm. Mm.
so that way. So these are the new shifts in our
Mm.
generation, where
Right.
like between 30s to 50s they have
Mm.
started developing.
Mm. Mm.
And even in the mindset of the parents of these ages has
Mm.
also changed, where they're okay if
Right.
their children are dating with multiple
Mm.
partners, and
Mm.
all of that acceptance have been there, where it's
Mm.
fine to have a lot of boyfriends and girlfriends and experimenting with relationships. And but actually, because of too many
Mm.
relationships, there's a lot
Right.
of trauma you develop, and there's a lot of
Mm.
trust issues which you develop.
Right.
And you need to understand the purpose of getting into the relationship also.
Right. Mm.
Many
Mm.
people just go with the flow types,
Mm.
but you need to understand what is that emotional need which you're looking for.
Right. Mm.
you know so yeah, I would
Mm.
like to speak about that later, that to
Sure.
something to give to the
Sure.
society, where you what you need to look for in the
Mm.
relationship, and how do you understand the purpose of
Yeah.
the relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you mentioned,
So
purpose
yeah.
of life, and then of course purpose of relationships, right?
Yes, yes,
So let me ask you
yes.
this, Priyanka. Like I said, you very generously shared your story about how you discovered where originally, initially, you had never thought you would be doing what you're doing today. But life is funny like that. There's somewhere with a series of, experiences, decisions, we kind of get to a certain place.
Yeah.
And having said that, there's a lot that has shifted, even in India, especially since COVID. When we talk about, mental health, we talk about opportunities for people to be able to teach what they're, really passionate about and what they believe is their purpose to be able to give to the world, right? Especially when we talk about healing and coaching. Um, so two things that are very, very close to me. One is, when we talk about community, right? I know that is actually, this is my philosophy, if you want to call it that, that I really believe that community makes a lot of difference, especially for people who are coaches and healers. So I'd love to hear your perspective on, and also importantly, you know, if someone was to look into, like a fly on the wall, see what happens in Priyanka's community, like what is it that you do, and what's your take on community?
Transformation. I
Mm,
mean, I believe in transformation. If I'm
mm,
giving something to the community and people are not getting transformed, it's a waste of time for me.
right.
So, yeah, I mean, when I do a lot of
Mm,
workshops and seminars and webinars
mm,
and everything, and in that, I always give something which is totally transformational. That
mm,
information, that
mm,
experience, I give them a lot of tools and techniques in my
mm,
community where they can really help themselves. Being emotionally independent is the most important thing in this world,
mm,
you know,
mm,
because if you're emotionally independent, you will feel satisfied, you will not be so vulnerable in life.
mm, mm,
But that's not easy.
right.
That's not easy.
Yeah,
Being emotionally
true.
independent is definitely not easy.
Mm,
So people can't generally live alone.
mm,
And of course, you don't need to also, you don't
mm,
need to live alone. You should have somebody
mm,
in your life, but
mm,
in the state of mind where you are emotionally so independent.
mm,
So when they look at me in my community, I
mm,
make my people emotionally independent,
mm,
understand their potential,
mm,
understand what is the
mm,
uh, right path they need to take, keeping their potential in mind,
mm,
keeping their interest in mind,
mm,
keeping their values in mind,
right.
you know.
Mm,
So because when they don't understand, they just go with the flow types,
mm,
their potential is compromised as well as
right.
their values are compromised over there,
Mm,
you know.
mm,
So
mm.
hence it is
Yeah,
important where they should
true,
understand what are
very
their
true.
values which they are holding on to, and live the life. Yeah.
Yo, we're back. We're back. There was a bit of a lag, but we're back.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. You were saying?
Okay, sorry.
No, no. And live there?
So yeah, live the life according to the values of your own. Means many people don't realize they have the certain values, so I try
Mm,
I help them discover that.
nice.
I help them discover their value system, I help them discover their potential,
Beautiful.
their purpose,
Mm,
and and of course there are some therapeutic tools and techniques with
yeah.
the help of that. Like
Mm,
acceptance and commitment
mm,
therapy is all about purpose and values and all of
mm,
that.
mm,
So we work on these therapeutic tools and techniques. So my entire whenever I heal people, and
right.
whenever I give anything to people, whether it's transformation, whether
Mm,
it is mental health, relationships, it's all therapeutic.
mm,
Generally everything is therapeutic. I do all kinds of, I use all kind of therapeutic tools, techniques, integrated therapies,
right.
and that's how I help them.
Mm,
Yeah.
amazing. Amazing. Is there, like, as we start to wrap, is there, maybe something that you're right now wanting more people to know about? It could be a book, it could be a talk, it could be a, webinar, since we're talking about, access today, a lot of it happens digitally. So is there something where you'd like to direct people and maybe tell us a little bit about what that is presently?
See, I have a community,
Mm,
and I keep having these group therapies.
mm,
Okay, now these group therapies are very economical. Now the thing is,
mm,
what happens is people don't come for therapies because, first of all, it becomes expensive for them,
mm, yeah.
or they have a lot of stigmas, they have a lot of they don't want to disclose anything, they don't want to
Mm,
disclose
mm,
that there is that I want to if whatever, if I share, what if the person judge me,
mm.
or I can handle myself, I mean I don't need to discuss these things. Why do
Correct.
you need a therapist? Therapy is all about just talking, I can talk to
Mm,
anybody.
mm,
What is so different about
yeah,
it? So
yeah.
they have so many hang-ups where therapy is
Mm,
concerned,
yeah.
so that is why I have a group therapy where I discuss things myself related to different
Mm,
topics where anger is concerned or anxiety is there. Sometimes I talk about respect.
Mm.
Sometimes I talk about self-respect, sometimes I talk about vulnerabilities.
Mm.
So there are different topics which I discuss,
Mm.
and then they can have a question answer sessions
Mm.
related to that.
Mm.
And they can disclose in the group as well.
Right.
And when they disclose, in that, many people have that realization that they are not
Right.
alone
Yeah.
suffering.
Very true. Beautiful.
So because of that, they realize that there is something more to it, and I can
Mm.
resolve it.
Mm.
And if I reach out to people, there is definitely help available.
Yeah. Yeah.
And many people even don't realize it, that there are so many other ways of dealing with the situation,
Yeah.
because they have never experienced, or
Mm.
they have never got any kind of exposure related to that, right?
Mm.
So in
Mm.
group therapy, so many new things come up from different people, new
Mm.
ideas. So
Mm.
I'm not the only one who give
Yeah.
only suggestions.
Mm.
I ask from people what have they used,
Mm.
in day to day life.
Mm.
What if, like, okay, fine, you had this problem, how did you deal with it? Okay, they will give
Mm.
some tool. Okay, I have dealt with this way, I have dealt with it that way.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you get many ideas. Even I get to learn a
Mm.
lot of things,
Mm.
from there.
Mm.
So yeah, this is one thing I would like to introduce to people,
Mm.
where they can come and join.
Yeah.
It's a paid one, but it is
Sure.
minimum paid one,
Yeah.
because what
Yeah.
happens is, when I tried the free one,
Mm.
many people were just taking for granted and nobody
Yeah.
was coming.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, once they pay at least little bit, they'll come, make an effort
Exactly.
to
Exactly. You've
come.
got their attention and they're paying with
Yeah.
not just the money, but with their attention. Right.
Yes, and it is
So,
minimum, so it will not
yeah.
pinch them also.
Mm. Mm.
So they will not feel that they'll get like a low cost therapy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
individual therapies are intensive,
Mm.
and it becomes expensive for them. So
Yeah.
this group therapy becomes very, very economical for them.
Exactly. Beautiful. So, of course, your links are all included, especially when people watch this on YouTube. And I think even on Facebook, while it's going out as a live, they should be able to see your links. So, for people, especially if you've been, watching all this while you're listening to this right now, that means you've heard us all the way through. And you've heard Priyanka, most importantly, and her story, her journey. And, firstly, big thank you to you, Priyanka, for taking the time. We're at the middle of the week. You've taken time to be here on this pod. So thank you so much for your time, your attention, and your heart, because you've shared with that openness. So that's what makes this pod special. So thank you so much for your time that you've taken today.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for inviting
My
me.
pleasure.
It was, in fact, I was actually looking for this kind of platform where I can share these things. And I was thinking, like, initially I was a little anxious, like, what
Yeah.
will I share? What will I talk? And once you go with the flow, you
Yeah,
just,
that's
go
right.
and share so many good things. And I'm
Yeah,
really glad that I'm here and I could disclose so many things
yeah,
which can actually help people to,
that's right.
maybe have
Mm.
some kind of insights.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, and I meant every word of it, that just the way you shared, I know it will not just inspire people, but it will just remind them that this journey, it's not easy. Being a healer, being someone who feels, and you talked about, that's why my antenna like kind of like picked up on when you said spirituality. It just means that you've had an experience. I'm literally like getting goosebumps as I'm sharing this with you. It's like this for them becomes that reminder that, you know what, if Priyanka's been through this and she's here to tell the story, that means even if I'm right now where Priyanka was, it's okay. Yeah, because there will come a point where I get to share my story and talk about how, yeah, there was this time in my life where I had these experiences. So one final question I want to ask you, and I've realized if I don't, then I am, so I'm holding myself accountable to this. And I realized that for all of us to get here, we've all had a journey of mentors. So in your own words, if you could share, who are some of these people that over the last so many years who have come into your life that have shaped you, because none of us made it here on our own, right? We've always had at different points in our life people who just somehow, like out of the blue, they came and they gave us that hope at that point. And today, as you look back, you're like, yeah, yeah, I'm sure there will be many, but even if you were to say like, yeah, these names like really stand out, that these people made a difference and they were your mentors at different points on your journey.
So yeah, I mean, there have been a few. Um, the mentor in my life, there was one this lady
Mm.
who who was very compassionate and who was very patient enough to answer my questions. As I
Right.
told you, I was like a question mark,
Hmm.
and she used to call me Prashna Chandni,
Wow.
because I used to keep calling. The thing is, I told you I need answers, I need a logical reasoning for
Mm.
everything, and she convinced me every bit,
Wow.
like, hey, this is what it is, hey, that is what it is.
Mm.
And she never showed any kind of irritation
Mm.
in her, even slightest frown I did not
Mm.
see. So that was
Mm.
really helpful for me. And it's been, I think, more than 16 years. I
Wow.
can't forget her, and
Right.
I'm extremely thankful and grateful to her,
Would you like to
where
share her
she
name as well?
yeah, her name is Lavanga Manjari,
Mm.
Mataji, and
Wow.
she was she was around that time. She was younger. I think she was just in early 20s, if I'm not
Wow.
mistaken.
Wow.
And she was so knowledgeable. She was so
Wow.
knowledgeable.
Amazing.
And even if she sees she sees this podcast. I mean, I
Mm.
don't know whether she remembers me or not. She
Mm.
must be. She doesn't. She's not in town right now. But
Right.
I mean, I'm so thankful to her, because
Right.
see, it's very important when you are a
Mm.
mentor. You should not be judgmental,
Yeah.
and you should have enough patience. You will get such weird people in your life like me who will ask you hundreds of stupid questions. And these people who are extremely curious, they need answers, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
then only they will go ahead with it. So
Also because they grow up to be you now. So no stupid questions at all.
I mean, yeah, God knows. So yeah, I'm very thankful to her,
Mm.
and also my temple community, where
Mm.
I have seen they all are so compassionate and so
Mm.
patient enough. I just feel that I'm when I go to the temple, it's not about the temple atmosphere. It's
Mm.
about the people over there, which
Mm.
makes that place bliss. Why? Because that entire so the Bhagavad Gita and
Mm.
the Bhagavatam and my
Mm.
mentors like Nityanand Charan Prabhu and other. I don't know whether you know Nityanand Charan Prabhu. I
No.
mean, Nityanand Charan, he is very famous now. I mean,
Okay. Mm.
that time I used to help him a lot, and
Mm.
he has given me a lot of support.
Mm.
And there have been these mentors have really, and yeah, now the most important, my mom.
Mm.
My mom, she's very spiritual by nature, though she follows
Mm.
something else, but the seed she has put
Right.
in right from
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
childhood, you
Totally.
know. So in my childhood, in the background, the bhajans used to go on.
Mm.
Though I used to just love bhajans that time, but I was not spiritual again. As I told
Mm.
you, I was not spiritual. I
Mm.
just used to like the tune of it,
Mm.
and I used to
Mm.
sing it. I used to love it. But as I told you, that I need answers. So even if she used to tell me, "Hey, fast that sola somvar because you'll get good husband," I am like, "I'm sorry," you know. But again, she has put that seed
Mm.
in me.
Mm.
Slowly, slowly, it has been so gradual and so subconsciously, it has
Nice.
gone into my mind
Beautiful.
that this particular thing has
Mm.
drawn me. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean,
Amazing.
there are few these mentors which has shaped me this way in my
Mm.
life.
Mm. Amazing. Thank you for sharing this. Like I said, why I realized I had missed the opportunity. Like we are now at this time, more than 50 of these, people who are mentors to others, people who are healers and coaches. This is one thing I had missed, that I realized that a lot of times when you share like this, you don't know who's hearing their name and how that is making a difference in that person's life, right? Because of those people who were there in your life 10, 15, 20 years ago, or even beyond, they shaped you to be who you are. So there's something in them, and maybe that is meant to go out into more and more people's lives. So like I said, I've made it my mission that I will always ask this question, because I know it can help so many other people who are out there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, and of course, this is also a way of expressing gratitude for in this moment, like they've heard you, right?
yeah,
For the role that you played in their life and they played in your life as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true.
So thank you so much once again, Priyanka. And of course, for those of you who are listening and you know who you are because you've reached this point, I can tell you that there's something about Priyanka's energy that has drawn you in, and that's why you're here listening to her and learning about, and being inspired by her life. And so, like I always say, and I'll say it again, it's like, remember to live your purpose, because that's why you're here on this journey, and that's why you've tuned into this pod. So, this is not the end, this is just the beginning, and there are many, many more stories that will come to you. So, a big thank you to you for taking the time to watch all the way till here. And of course, we will be back with many, many more. So, as always, having said all of that, of course, remember to live your purpose. God bless. And of course, Priyanka, one more time, thank you. God bless. And may you keep going out and being the light in so many people's lives. As you said, 7, 8, 9, all the way to 65 and beyond. So, may you continue to do the amazing work that you're doing. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
give me a one quick second while I just pause our
Sure.
live feeds. Nice.